there's 8 of us in one room, all on demos at the same time. So we do 8 demos a day. So let's have some fun while doing it. Who can say the most Will Smith songs while on a demo? And you just like, and I don't know, I might be self-proclaimed the best at it. There's a couple others that are really good at it, but someone hops on like, hey, is it just the 2 of us? All right, let's get jiggy with it. Tell me about your process. Is it the wild, wild west? And so we were having fun and also closing business at the same time.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Build and Breakthrough podcast. With me today is Kevin Walkup. Kevin is the strategic advisor for Fastlane AI. He's an advisor, a director, a strategist. He's also critically, part of the reason why I want him on here is he's the first sales rep at SalesLoft and saw SalesLoft's journey all the way from zero all the way to exit and beyond. And Walkup has been an incredible resource for me through a number of years, critical to the cultural development of SalesLoft, as well as things like the sales team. And I'm so excited for this conversation because I love him as a person. I love the contribution that he's had. He individually has had a huge impact on me through SalesLoft and beyond. And I'm just incredibly excited to share his knowledge, his wisdom, and his experience with everybody on the podcast. So, Walkup, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, man, what an intro there, Hunter. That was awesome. Yeah, Kevin Walkup, lifetime salesperson. If I had to go back and think about when I got into sales, we all remember having lemonade stands as kids. Well, I was the kid that didn't just have the lemonade stand, but I would go to the store with my mom, use my own money, and I would buy lemons to sell lemons to the kids with the lemonade stand to give them better product instead of just using that powder. Right? Exactly. And I was like 7 years old doing that. And I just knew right then I always wanted to be in some line of business where I can have a service that provides value. And I was lucky enough to meet Kyle Porter, founder of SalesLoft, early on, and ran into him one day. I think I actually sent him an email. His daughter, Brooklyn, who is now 12, was born in July of 2014. I sent him an email, congrats. He's like, hey, by the way, why don't you think about coming and working over at SalesLoft? So that's kind of where my journey began with SalesLoft, and knew I had always wanted to be in software. And this was a big leap for me going from a recruiting background into software. Yeah, super excited to be here today.
I'm glad to hear that. So, kicking it off, do you have any questions for me?
Something that's just like been top of mind lately, just like having known you for so long and knowing your background and your technical experience of like, how are companies trying to dip their toe in the water of AI these days? How do they get started? They know they should, but how? How are they doing it?
So, a really interesting question because there's kind of twofold there. There's how do companies start engaging in AI and how do individuals start engaging in AI? And really, it sounds like two things, but it's really the same because I feel like AI adoption right now really has to start in some capacity with the individual. From an organizational level, for an organization to successfully adopt AI, there's a lot of headwinds to AI adoption. Let's be clear. There's a ton of people that don't like the technology, don't want to engage with the technology, don't see value in the technology. To be clear, I don't agree with them. Although pieces of their criticism have valid parts, to be perfectly honest. So to kind of get over that, you need people in your organization that are using the tool, that are excited about the tool, that see ROI in the tool, and also have the experience with the tool to know what it's good at, know what it's bad at, know where its strengths are, know where weaknesses are, know where opportunities are, know where threats are. Your classic SWOT analysis effectively, right? And so that all starts with the individual. So if you can start with an organization, get a few people using it, I feel like most organizations have some people in there that are like, your early adopter types that are engaging with things earlier. So for most organizations, it's not like you have to start with zero. You need to identify those people. And the easiest, lowest hanging fruit that you need is just do stuff like brown bag lunches that are led by those people, lift them up, give them an opportunity to share their expertise. And these people are not always in the engineering team, by the way, too. Some of these organizations, their early adopters are on your recruiting team. Sometimes the early adopters
the sales team.
Exactly, right? In a lot of organizations, they are in the engineering teams. Some organizations, they're in the product team. But you have to find those people regardless of department, lift them up, have them broadcast their information to the rest of the organization, and then start creating additional exemplars bit by bit based on that, continue knowledge sharing, and start scaling that. Once you have like kind of a critical mass, you can get into some of the more interesting, exciting stuff, but it really starts with just making sure that your organization is regularly engaging with the technology, and that starts with individual specialists.
That's a great point to get down to the actual individual, get them excited. And then overall, it's going to snowball into getting the whole organization excited. And that's a really good
Exactly.
point.
Like, and the key is a lot of people just don't see immediate ROI because they're using the tools for the wrong tasks, or they're using the tools in the wrong way. And it can go both ways. Some people spend too much time crafting these really elegant prompts that don't perform well because there isn't enough outside context of the problem that you're solving. And there's other people that try and one shot stuff too aggressively. So it's one of those things where the thing that I recommend for everybody first is like, this technology is accessible. Just get the reps in. Just use it, use it. Like, I recommended to a chief people officer recently. He was just like, AI, where do I start at all whatsoever? I was like, look, $20 a month, get Claude Cowork. It's an agentic solution. You do stuff with Excel documents. And he's like, yeah, I do this workflow where I like copy some stuff out of this Excel, copy some stuff out of that Excel, copy some stuff out of that Excel, and create a new Excel. I'm like, okay, great. Instead of you copying all that stuff, see if you can get Claude Cowork to do that for you. Just start there. Like, you'll find out that some of that's easier, some of that's hard, but Claude Cowork can do that for you. Start there.
The small things make big impacts, especially for new users. I totally agree. And I'm one of those people. I'm a sales guy. So obviously I'm not very smart. I'm just
I
good at,
disagree.
I, I'm good at, providing value and understanding the sales process and,
Mm-hmm.
getting the sales done. But, book smart, I was not an A student. So for me, like dipping my toe into the water with Claude was starting very small and having it do something little. And then it grew. And now I've just recently had it build my own app for me. I'm hosting
Fantastic.
a
I love to hear
Kentucky
it.
Derby party that is going to power the entire betting system where I'm going to be the house. So I never in a million years thought that I would have been able to figure that out. Without Claude, I wouldn't have been able to.
Well, you started exactly the right way with that too, because to the point of using the tool wrong, too many people are like, hey, build me a whole like enterprise level app. But if you start with something small and you just solve one individual problem, and then you solve a slightly bigger problem and a slightly bigger problem, your skills scale along with the tool, you learn more. And that's also just how you go about engineering stuff, right? You don't try and be like, imagine trying to build all of SalesLoft, for example, with one prompt or something like that, right? It would be an absolute nightmare. But you could describe like one aspect of cadences, for example, get that built, add another aspect of cadences, and build and build and build and build and build. It's really all the same workflow. It's just a different tool for doing the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, spot on. And I love that. Learn and grow as you do and fail.
Yeah.
And, I've always believed in the thought process. If you get knocked down 7 times, you get up 8.
Yep.
And especially in sales, because you're going to get a lot of no's on my side of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And figuring out AI and those types of prompts, I'm actually getting smarter myself of like how to better prompt what I want to
Absolutely.
get out of the AI.
And sales is an interesting space for AI use too, because I feel like a lot of the really great salespeople I know spend a lot of time doing things like researching prospects, researching opportunities, and that's always been a really time-consuming process. And these tools are perfectly positioned to agentically go get tons of information and summarize it for you, slice and dice information, like get you what you need to know, go traverse the web and find different sources for things. Like, there's a ton of opportunity for taking like operationalized sales processes. And I mean, I know some people that are like, oh, like let's have an AI agent do our whole sales process. Maybe you should have a person still call other people, But for information gathering, it's incredibly strong for those purposes. And it feels like a missed opportunity for a lot of the reps that I know that are still kind of like manually copying and pasting things out of LinkedIn, for example.
I totally agree. And I don't want to plug Fastlane AI quite yet, but that's exactly what we're helping some
I'm not
companies do
surprised.
for with their go-to-market strategy.
I'm sure. Like I do want to learn a little bit more about Fastlane while we're there. But moving on to the main topic, because we've been talking about SalesLoft a little bit here, I just wanted to make sure for the founders that are viewing this, like you were like the OG rainmaker for SalesLoft, and I want to just at least starting with zero, like B2B sales for SalesLoft at as being the founding sales rep, like what did that look like? What did like a really successful early sales organization?
Mayhem.
I love that you're starting that way.
Every single day was different in the early days of SalesLoft. We would have an idea. We started with a product called Prospector. We were,
Yep.
pulling information from LinkedIn, giving email addresses. It was selling like wildfire. And then Kyle and Rob pulled me to the side and they're like, hey, we have this new idea for something called Cadence that kind of gives you these amount of touch points. And I was like, what? That one really hit home for me because that solved my problem as a salesperson. I had been hammering the phones for years doing that, but I had no cadence. There was no method to my madness. So when they approached me like, hey, do you want to sell this product? It's 1/10 the price of what we're selling like wildfire, but we want you to be focused on this. I took the risk and did that. And so glad that I did because we ended up morphing the whole business from that prospector into Cadence
Mm-hmm.
over the next couple of years. But early days was a grind. Would wake up. These are in-office days where the sales off culture was so great that I was excited to run into the office
Mm-hmm.
and be there and be on the phone in front of my peers all day, where we could learn from each other. Like, oh, you know what? She just said something really good on that call. I'm going to try that on my next one. Being able to have that. But again, every day was different. We were changing the product a lot. But what really comes down to is like, we had fun doing it.
Mm-hmm.
There's 8 of us in one room, all on demos at the same time. So we do 8 demos a day. So let's have some fun while doing it. Who can say the most Will Smith songs while on a demo? Uh, you just like, and I don't know. I might be self-proclaimed the best at it. There's a couple others that are really good at it, but someone hops on like, "Hey, is it just the 2 of us? All right, let's get jiggy with it. Tell me about your process. Is it the wild, wild west?" And so we were having fun and also closing business at the same time. So early days, it was the wild, wild west, and we had a ton of fun doing it. And it was just having that positive energy that my peers around me, maybe I'm competing with them to be at the top of the leaderboard, but they've got my back. Everybody always had my back. The customer success team, the engineers, I could be able to go and walk to them and ask them a question that I was not smart enough to ask them and have them explain it like I'm 5. And so being able to have that cultural piece really helped, I think, us kind of fuel that rocket ship that we were on.
Yeah, SalesLoft's culture really underpinned a ton of stuff. That was a big theme that I went through with Scott Mitchell a few episodes ago as well. As part of that, I want to go back. So this was before the call conferencing, call coaching solution that we built, right? And I know the software was heavily being dog fooded from day one, but what sort of practices were you using to scale that sort of knowledge sharing within the sales organization? Because if you're all on demos at the same time, how do you make sure that people are aware of what's happening in the demos while they're in a demo themselves?
That's a great question. And a lot of this was pre-Zoom. So it was just audio.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
And I was one of the huge proponents. Well, I was also trying to sell Zoom at the time, sell SalesLoft to Zoom at the time. But then I fell in love with Zoom. It was like, oh, I can see people and this is great. And it was like grainy, like early days, 2014 Zoom. But being able to be in the same room as those people, yeah, you can hear those little bits. But one of the things that I did is like I built a cadence for my follow-ups. Again, we were doing 8 demos a day. And by the 7th one, you're like, who did I talk to an hour ago. What was their name? And so I've got all my notes. So I would drop all of them into a follow-up cadence for not just prospecting, but for follow-up demos. And then I shared that with the team, and we all kind of would riff off of each other, like, hey, like let's tweak this follow-up email that goes out 3 days after we did that demo. Hey, you still interested? Because we were at the point there, is like, here's a demo. Do you like it? Do you want to buy it? Yes. Okay, good. If not, like, we're too busy to follow up with you. But where the success came from is I followed up with some of those people that weren't quite ready yet. So we built that cadence. I think mine was over the course of 40 business days. So you're looking at
How many touch
2
points
months.
do you have over 40 business days?
Not original, maybe 5. So I wasn't jamming anything down their throat, but I
it's
was
not like you're
keeping
double
top of mind.
tapping them every day or anything like that.
Yeah. It wasn't a cold prospect like what the SDRs were doing, hammering to get that initial meeting. Is I was thinking, let's stay top of mind. Maybe down the road, they'll remember me. And one of the emails was not an ask at all. It was a give. So I'm not, if you think about an ATM, I'm putting deposits in. I'm not taking withdrawals. Hey, here's a great article that I just read about inside sales and like how it's changing right now in our time. Or here's a great little tidbit of, a strategy. Hope you enjoy. No ask, no nothing back. But then they remember me, and I've got people coming back to me for years that would respond literally 3 years later, be like, hey, now's the time. I got this email from you, and I had to search through my inbox, but I found it. And then we would end up doing business years later.
That goes back to leading with value at its core, right? Like,
of 100%.
Not just
Yeah.
like seeking to sell, but really caring about the customer directly, caring about the customer's success. I mean, obviously, you think that they're going to succeed the most by buying the product that you have, but also, like, regardless of whether they buy or not, you want them to succeed. So you, in caring for them, provide them things that they might find value from, right?
Yeah. I instilled our own company culture into our customers and our prospects as well.
Exactly.
It worked. If you care about the people you're doing business with, if you care about the product that you're selling, it just goes a lot farther, and they can hear it in your voice. They can see it in your heart. And it's a win-win for everybody at the end of the day.
Yeah, and part of that too, it makes you more knowledgeable about the solution, makes you more knowledgeable about the space. Like, there's so many kind of like multiplicative add-ons to that sort of approach that, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people kind of take the Glengarry, Glen Ross, like, just hard close ASAP kind of viewpoint. Maybe there's industries where that works well, but I don't think the software B2B sales space is one where that has remained effective over time, to say the very least.
Yeah, I agree, because one of the best things in B2B software sales is referrals. So if you treat your customers right, they've got their buddy, their next door neighbor, their golf pal, their pickleball partner. Like, oh, you know what? You should talk to Kevin over at SalesLoft. And I couldn't tell you how many of those I got over the years, of just because I was myself. I was never trying to push product on them. I wanted to understand their needs. If their needs was something that we could solve, it made it a lot easier. And then we became friends. I still have friends from 10 years ago, clients that I texted one the other day. And just to check in, we're still buddies to this day. So it's just like little things like that.
So I guess this is a little bit out of the pan, but it seems like a big part of what you're doing is outside of like a regular like SalesLoft cadence type of thing. You're just checking in with a lot of people across like your professional journey outside of SalesLoft too. How do you go about managing that? Are you actually using something like SalesLoft for your own personal usage to keep up with all this stuff? Do you have a little black book? Like, what is the process like that? Because I feel like that's something that's really snoozed on by a lot of people too.
You know what? I've kept it as simple as using Siri. Every Wednesday, like I've said, this is years ago. Ask her every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Remind me to call someone to catch up with them. And then I have to think about who do I want to call, go through the list. But every Wednesday I'll call somebody, and they're like, hey, Kevin, I haven't talked to you in years. Why are you calling? Like, hey, just wanted to see how you're doing, see how life is on your end. So I get a Siri reminder
Okay.
every Wednesday, which is really cool to help me keep in touch with the people that I've loved being in business with or being colleagues with.
So you mentioned like go through the list. How are you managing that list?
That's tough. That's just in between my two ears. Maybe I should use Claude to like help like build me a list of for the next
Or
couple
I
of
mean,
years
you could
who
have
I should be doing it.
Claude Cowork and Claude Code generate a CRM for you, like personalized CRM for
My
managing all of that
personal
stuff.
CRM, yeah.
It's a thing. It's a thing people are doing right now.
Yeah. I mean, it comes back to the lunch with the lofter thing when we had 52 people at
Hmm.
the company. I was like, oh, I could have lunch with one person a week. And that's kind of where the Siri reminder came from. Every
That's
Wednesday,
effective.
I could take somebody out to lunch, somebody new at the business. And I could do that for an entire year. Now, I didn't think about our like exponential growth. There was like 300 people at the end of the year, but it was a really cool way to stay in touch. And that was, physically.
Yeah, and as we were talking about before this call, like that individual, I don't know, ritual process, whatever you want to call it, that is a piece that was immensely impactful for me because I had come to SalesLoft from IBM, and one of my pain points at IBM and SilverPop before that was I had gone from a tiny office working for the Consul General of Japan of like I think it was like 10 people, and then being in a several hundred headcount software organization, and then being in IBM, the scope of which I think they had like 400,000 employees at that point, and just being like, I am lost with how to connect to anyone here. And then coming into SalesLoft and being like, oh, hey, I can like hop in this process and just have coffee with people and connect with people. And it just blew my mind. And that's been something that I've taken to every job and every organization that I've either been employed at or just worked with. Even when I consult for organizations, one of the things that I consult on is always like engineering culture, and that ties into the overall corporate culture. And I'm like, hey, your engineers are siloed. One of the easiest ways to break this silo, have you heard of Donut? It is this thing that you can just slap into your Slack because literally everyone uses Slack. And you can get the equivalent of coffee with a lofty up and jamming. So I have to say, lunch with a lofty onto coffee with a lofty. I mean, the impact of that has really resonated because I introduced that to at least Calendly, I introduced that to Sanosa, I've introduced that to a number of places. So that's resonated out into the American tech landscape at large at this point through me and also through, I think, other SalesLoft people that have moved out and seen the impact of that and brought it elsewhere.
And you're right. And it's so cool because, salespeople and engineers, you know, typically don't have a lot in common. You'll pass each other in the hall. You'll see them, talking with their pals at lunch, but it's hard to like actually make a material connection. And so with the coffee with a lofty, it's like, all right, now I'm partnered up with Hunter, and Hunter, you and we're going to go get 30 minutes together, and I get to learn more about you. This is more than just passing each other in the hall. I learned a lot about, hey, these engineers love playing chess. And then chess became a huge part at SalesLoft, where salespeople and engineers were sitting there playing chess. And now we're a community, we're a tight knit group where typically those two types of teams are as far apart as you can see. But at SalesLoft, we brought them together via chess, via coffee, and just via culture, just to caring about wanting to learn about somebody else that I would typically just wave at in the hall. I got the chance to learn about so many amazing people and find cool connections with people that like, oh, I didn't know that you're also into this type of stuff. Oh yeah, cool. And now I've got lifelong friends because I had a 30-minute coffee with a stranger.
Mm-hmm. And there's so many business aspects. Like there's the cultural aspects, but there's also business aspects that are useful and profitable from this too, which is a point that I want to make sure gets recognized because I can't count the number of times that like by connecting with people like you have a unique view on the customer's pain points, what they care about. And so I, as an engineer, part of my difficulty is not just like what I'm building, but how do I appropriately build the thing? How do I compromise appropriately? Like, where can I cut corners where it matters? And where can I cut corners that are actually going to, like, customers are going to care about that? So having the relationship with salespeople, like, I have such a passion for bringing organizations like sales closer to engineering because I really view sales and engineering as like two sides of the same engine. Because if sales is selling, but there isn't a product underpinning that, you can go some distance, but it's going to fade at a particular point in time. If
Yeah,
engineers are just building without sales, then you're disconnected from the customer and you probably won't have the funds to continue running your engineering team for very long.
exactly.
So bringing both of them together and getting them close allows the engineers to build better to serve the customer, but it also gives the salespeople more information about how things are underpinned, gives them higher fidelity information about deadlines, what may be coming up, about what they can promise, what they can't promise. Like for their sales calls, where can they compromise? Where can't they compromise? Right. So there's just so many multiplicative benefits across the organization by making
Yeah, the
salespeople
entire org.
more.
Yeah, not
Yes,
just sales
exactly.
and engineering.
Yeah,
You go marketing and CS and engineering and CS and sales. It's just a great way to spread love and really indulge the company culture where look, we all spend 40, 50 hours a week together. We should probably,
yeah.
maybe grab a coffee every once in a while.
Make the human connection. So
Yeah.
continuing on with the sales story, like what was the move like moving from kind of like the SMB space more towards the enterprise space? Because I talk to a lot of organizations that are really interested in enterprise sales, but they're really early. And well, I have a lot of opinions on this, but I'd love to hear what that journey was like for you.
It's funny as like being the first sales rep to sell SalesLoft and then being the first enterprise sales rep to sell SalesLoft to enterprises. We interviewed probably a dozen amazing enterprise reps. We brought on an awesome VP of enterprise sales, Fred Freed, who I'm still very close with. And he interviewed and interviewed and interviewed. And he's like, these guys are great enterprise sellers, but they just don't understand sales law. So he came to me and he's like, you understand sales law. You don't know how to sell enterprise. I can teach you how to sell enterprise sales better than I can teach an enterprise seller how to sell sales law. So he took me under his wing and, I went from doing 8 demos a day of boom on a call. Hey, like somebody else joining my call. I've got to jump off to now thinking, all right, this is an enterprise deal. We're talking 20 of these small deals that I'm thinking of, 50 even, of we're going to put more effort into this. We're going to approach it in a lot more professional manner. No more Will Smith jokes
Right.
on those calls. But it was a really, really cool experience for me to even think about. I just thought enterprise sales was the same thing as SMB, and it is definitely not. It's a nurture. Like what you said earlier. It's like you're doing a lot more value added things where you're teaching them, you're coaching them before you're even really starting to sell them to get them into that motion of buying.
Very interesting. So then I know you're in the enterprise sales space for a period of time. Once you reach that point of starting to head towards the exit, did your sales journey start changing at all? Like, did you see the exit coming due to changes in sales targets or anything like that? Like, at what point did the exit start affecting your life?
Well, it affected my life as soon as the wire hit my account. Like,
Well,
that was
certainly,
pretty
yeah.
nice. But I could definitely in plain sight see that SalesLoft was going somewhere where someone was going to come in and buy this book of business because we were now at a point of not just doing these SMB deals, but the biggest logos in the world are now interested and attracted to our technology. And that's kind of the foresight that I had of like, there's an exit coming and I'm exercising every single vested option that I've got as soon as I can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I want to be respectful of your time. This has been incredibly interesting. I've loved this conversation. I think there's a ton of great stuff that a lot of people can enjoy from this. Do you want to plug your pluggables?
Fastlane AI, fastlaneai.com. We are doing AI consulting. So when I kind of asked you at the very beginning, how are people dipping their toe into AI? That's exactly what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're backed by 2 of the SalesLoft founders, Kyle Porter, Rob Foreman, and then also our largest investor in SalesLoft, David Cummings. So we pretty much have the Mount Rushmore of Atlanta tech investors behind us here. And for those organizations that are out there trying to figure out, I just need to figure out where to start. What can we be doing with AI? That's what Fastlane's doing. We're coming in, say, open up the kimono. Here's 111 things you can do. Here's 3 that we'll recommend that you start with. And we will walk you through training your team, getting those individuals, to your point earlier, getting those individuals excited about learning about the AI so they can continue their growth and their knowledge of building new things, and then being able to help those organizations just really kickstart and get themselves in the fast lane of
Hmm. Yeah, I have to say, like, the adoption is still so low that the space of opportunity there is just insane at the moment. Like, I'm super excited for y'all, and saying Mount Rushmore of Atlanta talent is really putting it lightly with KP Rob and David Cummings on there.
yeah.
That's truly some overwhelming power behind that there. Well, everybody, thank you very much for joining us. God, Kevin, again, thank you very much. This has been fantastic. I feel like I'm going to have to do an episode on Fastlane AI one of these days. So I have a ton of questions about the company. I can't see the internals from where I am right now, but I'm very excited about the space. So I might have to see if I can get Rebby on here sometime. But everybody, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've gotten a lot out of this. Like, between sales itself, sales culture, especially culture, is always a through line with our sales lefters, right? I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you all get a lot out of it. And I hope you all have a fantastic day. Peace.
Yeah. And thanks for having me. And let's go grab a coffee soon.
Absolutely. I'm around. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Perfect. See ya.